Speed and racing.
Welcome to the Dogcast for Greyhound Racing SA. Visit grsa.com.au.
Oh, yes, welcome to the latest edition of the Dogcast, brought to you by Greyhound Racing SA. I'm Brenton Yates, your host for today. And, of course, as always, joined by Greyhound Racing SA's racing manager, Shaun Mathieson, for a big spring edition of the Dogcast. Matho, welcome.
Yeah, hi, Yatesy. Great to be with you on the Dogcast. Yeah, as you mentioned, big spring edition. Last episode, we touched on how good it was going to be over the coming weeks and months in South Australia for Greyhound Racing, and it's proven that. We've got two wonderful finals, which we'll touch on this Thursday night in the Oaks and the Derby, but all leading up towards our match racing Group 1, Gawler Cup. Great time to be a racing enthusiast in SA.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, we'll touch on, as you mentioned, the Group 3 SA Oaks and the SA Derby finals. We'll check out last week's heats as well and how the final has been made up. We'll look back as well as a huge weekend in New South Wales, of course, with the National Series at both Wentworth Park and the Straight Track at Richmond. We'll look back on that, see the winners and also how our locals performed. And we'll have a chat with Kim Johnstone. She has got Russia's Roar, who's drawn box 1 in the Derby final.
The Week in Review.
As always, our Week in Review brought to you by Fresh Pet Food Co. They're proud suppliers of fresh pet food for our GAP SA greyhounds in the GAP prison programs, and they are based right here in SA. Visit their website, freshpetfoodco.com.au for more information. Matho, time to look back. Last Thursday night, gee, it was a big night of action-packed greyhound racing. We had 3 heats of the Oaks, 3 heats of the Derby, a lot of interstate interest, and a couple of upset results. What about we kick off with the Oaks?
Yeah, well, the first heat of the Oaks, which was race 3 on the card, Molly Irish for Rob Harness, surprise winner, $19, was able to jump to the front and just prove too strong. Now, the weather on Thursday night was a bit ordinary and a bit wet, so you might have thought, oh, if it leads, it'll get run down in the heavy conditions. But to be fair, Molly Irish did a great job to lead throughout. McKeon Bale, the Victorian, did an okay job to run on, was mid-race and then got home for second. And Osprey Athena, Yatesy, very unlucky in running third, got checked off the back straight when looking a huge danger.
Absolutely. She was a massive run. I mean, twice. Got a bump a couple of times and then rocketed home. Hasn't made the final. So bad luck for Connections, but she's first reserve in order, so still half a chance maybe to get a run, but she'll go around Thursday night anyway. It was a huge performance. The track's an interesting point you make from Thursday night. It was one of the more difficult programs I've had as far as being able to call them, because funny things were happening, like leaders were stopping quickly, those at the back were running on, hitting the front and then dropping off. There was no pattern to it. It was just a wet and it was a sloppy sort of night as far as conditions go, and it was a really interesting sort of meeting to try and take form out of, because I think there's going to be some variances out of that you can just totally forget. Yeah,
no, I agree. I mean, some dogs handle it and some didn't. There were clearly some dogs that didn't handle the conditions at all, that didn't go well, and some, and we'll talk about the next heat of the Oaks in a minute, but some thrived on the conditions and ran amazing time and looked to be progressing quite well. But I take your point, the next coming weeks, will this form stack up and where will it sit? Time will tell. But I mean, good on the ones who won and qualified for the final. They got the job done. So,
what about your hero, Bale? This was very heavily backed in the second heat of the Oaks. Copped a little bit of buffeting early, but heading around that first bend, sort of you could tell the race was done. Yeah,
from the Gibbons team, they've got a strong team at the moment. They're winning races everywhere in Australia, and your hero, Bale, peeled off a 30.42, a huge run home time. And as you said, Yatesy, once she got to up near the leaders into the back straight, it was game over. She raced away. I did think Zipping Daria ran a nice race first up for Ed Burrett from New South Wales. Got some nice New South Wales form, and I was impressed the way she went. She's drawn perfectly in the 1 in the Oaks final. So both of those greyhounds, I think they will progress quite nicely.
What about the third heat of the Oaks and a local victory, Miss Scallywag for Tony Rasmussen?
Yeah, wasn't it great to see? I mean, a lot of these races, well, we had 2 locals win 2 of the 3 heats, which is fantastic. And Miss Scallywag, she just has that really good early speed.
Yep.
She drew wide. A lot of the ones on the inside began a bit average, and she just used her speed, a 5.29 just to cross. And And I thought turning for home, they might have been a chance to run her down, but she seemed to kick away a little bit and won impressively by 4 lengths. Melissa Keeping and Ava Blazer both qualified for the final. They would have to particularly improve their sort of box manners and get a bit closer in the final to do any damage. But we do know from 1 week to the next, particularly with interstate dogs, they can improve.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's absolutely true. I'll run through the box draw and also the markets when we get to our official preview. What about looking back on the heats of the Derby? First heat was taken out. We're going to have a chat to Kim Johnstone later on, but gee, Rush's Raw from box 7 really showed a good turn of speed.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in terrific form. I mean, he ran second behind Sunset Toxic, which is one of the fastest and best sprinters in the state at the moment.
Took 3 or 4 lengths off Sunset Toxic in the home straight too. I mean, that's not easy to do.
No, absolutely. And so against his own age, effectively here, he was able to work his way strongly to the front, challenge and then race away by 4 lengths. Quarter was good, nice 600-metre dog, getting home nicely at the end. And the failure, Shot of Red, Anthony Azzopardi's dog, probably his main chance probably through the series. Yeah. A couple of 2 disappointing runs. I mean, he's a very nice dog, obviously, but he just might not handle the conditions.
Gee, he was backed. He was strongly backed. He had it, and he was in a position to challenge if he had it in him, but just couldn't get it done. And 2 good rushes. Raw second heat of the Derby, and we've seen Hector Fawley, of course, either the week before or the fortnight before, come out and get the job done, and was able to sort of butter up and do it again after finding itself a little further back than maybe we would have thought.
Yeah, it was a bit of a muddly race early, wasn't it? Dogs up the front, then all of a sudden they're midfield, and Hector Fawley, geez, I thought he was not going to qualify, let alone win this heat. I mean, he found himself checked on the first turn when he was making good ground towards the lead. Checked again, he was a long way off him down the back straight, and he kept railing hard. And he got the run, and he won well. I was actually taken by the run, Yates. Yeah. I actually thought he did a really good job. He's a very inexperienced dog. He's only had about 7 lifetime starts. Winnington Bale again for the Gibbons, and Salah Dodger, probably a little bit disappointing as well. Once he found the front.
Yeah, I thought once he was in the lead, then look out. But coming to the turn, like he lost 3 lengths like that and was gone, which enabled and maybe made the look of the run of Hector even better. Sure. But I was very surprised at how quick Salah Dodger came back, considering what we'd seen him do in Melbourne. No, that was a surprise. And look, well done to Hector Fawley and Connections. The third heat of the SA Derby. Deadly Class was a short price favourite going into this one, but once again rolled by another interstate visitor this time. Yeah,
Multi-Matt, again, led them up, did a really good job for Team Brenton Langton, who have sent across 8 or 9 dogs for the series on the night. 30.67. He did a good job. We went around at $15, Yatesy, which more probably reflects the price of Deadly Class. He was $1.30 Deadly Class, and so you wouldn't expect $15 about Multi-Matt. But he held on well. Deadly Class, I thought he had clear running down the back straight to make ground. He made good ground, and his run home time was very good. So, I mean, he's still a big chance in the final, but he's been beaten as a short price favourite his last 2. And Columbus Manelli, I was glad for the Western Australian connections. Morgan Turner had been across here for a few weeks and was able to run third in the final. Qualified. Unfortunately, he's drawn poorly again in the final, but he's been going really well. So he's got a big motor, that dog too. So I was glad they made it for their connections.
All right, we'll have a full preview with the box draw and markets. That'll be coming up soon. What about the North v South Challenge? The Dogcast strikes again, Matho. We had Adam Manton on and Julie got the result with Toby West.
Well, I know James in the marketing department, he does keep the stats on this, and I reckon if we were doing it as our best bet every week, we would be at like 80% or something like that.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
Bear in mind, we are getting the contenders for these feature races, but terrific for Adam with Toby West. And, geez, is there a more improved dog in the state than him?
It's extraordinary, and what he's doing in that sort of early to mid-race section is unbelievable. I mean, he's gone on to win again since. He's won 4 in a row now, and I think he's got a massive chance again in the racing on Thursday night. Drawn the 3, I think it is, and will come out. And I know there's a bit of interstate representation that'll make it hard, but I mean, how do you deny him? He just keeps doing what he needs to do and doing it in really strong fashion.
Well, and that final at Murray Bridge drew together some wonderful dogs from the north and the south. Murray Bridge 5:30. You might not think it would suit him.
Yep.
And he did a good job down the back straight. He railed hard. He sort of shoved Spring Phoebe out of the way.
Yep.
Got ground, went wide, turning for home.
Went
He
really
was
wide,
out
didn't
with
he?
the crowd that were there, and but he held on well. He held off Spring Agatha, which we know she's a very nice dog, and full credit to him. He got the job done. 29.93, and as you mentioned, going fantastically well.
What about look back at the Nationals? So we might kick off with the straight track because there's been a bit of progression here for He's on Fire, who ran pretty solidly in that straight track final.
Yeah, most definitely. Just on that, it was the North versus South, just with Victor Kurt, took out the short course. So congratulations to the Rasmussens. They're great supporters of that series, and all the Victor dogs, they go really well. But, geez, talking about the straight track and He's on Fire, well, the name is suiting for that dog. I mean, he ran third in the straight track final behind Mr. America, which we spoke. He had sort of the good New South Wales form, and subsequently Mr. America has, I think, broken the track record at that venue. Ran third in the final. Did SA proud. I'm Gifted Too was there for Ben Rawlings as well. Again, really admirable performance against those dogs. It was in the care of Alan Mainwaring, and subsequently he's gone to the $1 Million Chase Preludes, Metro Preludes, and ran second to She's a Pearl. Now is qualified for the semi-finals of the $1 Million Chase this Saturday night. He's progressing well. We know how his speed out of the boxes is electric. So he really led the way against She's a Pearl, and she had to work really hard to go past him. Also in the $1 Million Chase semi-finals, before we touch on the other nationals, Teddy the Bear and Charlie's Misty have both progressed through the Broken Hill qualifier. They ran second and third in the final at Broken Hill, so congratulations to them. Great to have SA content on $1 Million Chase night. We know Shadow Mist did a great job for Lauren Harris a year or two ago. But yeah, so great to see SA flying the flag on the interstate stage. In the other two national finals, we had fantastic Radley go around in the Group 1 staying event. What did you make of his run?
Well, obviously the winner, Super Estrella, was the one we thought was the one to beat. Pounced straight to the lead and it was done. He got shuffled back a fair way early. Yeah. Fantastic Radley. He might have got a little bump, I couldn't quite tell, off the back, and then in the home straight the first time he was sort of back. Look, I thought he plugged away and did his job. I don't think he was disgraced, just given the run early that he had. And he's obviously subsequently come out and won well again here in Adelaide, so he certainly hasn't gone backwards. Yeah,
I just think on that national level, he just finds the ones who can get to the front early, and he finds himself midfield. It's a bit hard to make ground. It'll be interesting in the coming weeks. Radley will be heading towards the Premier's Cup, which is one of our premier staying races on Adelaide Cup final night. Hopefully we get to see some interstate stayers come across for that and see them match up against him on his home track. And because he's been brilliant at Angle Park. We know how good he is at Murray Bridge.
Yep.
So he's clearly dominating the staying ranks. And then in the sprint final, Fly for Tricks, who won our sprint final at big odds, went around in bigger odds in the national final at Wentworth Park. Far from disgraced, Yates.
Thor ran fantastically well. I mean, Good Odds Cash ended up winning that after being headed by the fave Simply Limelight and kicked back to win. But Fly for Tricks was sort of camped there fourth, just a length off them early, and stayed there pretty much the whole way. And the last bit just probably lost that half length in the run to the post, but I thought stuck on extremely well, all things considered.
Yeah, off the back straight, I was thinking if the leaders just sort of tie up a little bit with each other, the run could present for Fly for Tricks.
Yep.
He sort of went to the outside, but then he just couldn't then make ground. But geez, he was gutsy to finish fifth in that final, a really hot Group 1 final.
The Nationals, do we know where they are next year, Shaun?
So next year they'll be in Victoria.
Yep.
So it's either Meadows or Sandown. I'm just not sure. But the year after, they'll be here at Angle Park.
Fantastic.
So we'll obviously look to try to factor in the straight track with Murray Bridge and obviously the national finals here. So in 2 years' time, it's going to be, that will be a wonderful week of racing for sure.
Strap yourself in. Fantastic stuff. That's our look back at what was. Next up, we've got the preview of the Big Oaks and Derby finals.
The preview.
The preview is brought to you by SA Greyhound Tips Twitter feed. Free tips for SA Metro meetings. Search at the Dogs SA and get on board. As always, gamble responsibly. Time now to have a look at the big finals coming up Thursday night at Angle Park. We've got the Oaks and Derby. We'll kick off with the Oaks. Math, I'll just run through the box draw and tab fix market. Please note these are all in markets with the reserves priced. So the markets will shift slightly once those reserves or any scratchings happen. So we've got Zipping Daria box 1 at $5.50 on the tab fix. 2 Ava Blazer is $3.50. Number 3 Melissa Keeping at $7.50. 4 Agent 4 at $34. Your Hero Bale, number 5, is $3.50 and equal favourite with Ava Blazer. Miss Scallywag, number 6 at $4.60. 7 Molly Irish at $19. And box 8 McKeon Bale at $7. Osprey Athena at $9. Whiskey Soda at $34. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, we talk every year. It's a wonderful edition of the Oaks. One of the more even races that we will see for a Group 3 SA Oaks final. I think there's a number of chances. I think the box draw does make it quite interesting. In going through the race itself, I was actually thinking Zipping Daria out of the box 1 would be pretty strong in having a chance to lead. I do believe Miss Scallywag, if she hits it, she can definitely lead from box 6. But I think Zipping Daria showed last week, first look at the track, that she can show speed. She was a 5.35 to the first post. She does like to get off a little bit. So Ava Blazer wasn't that fast out. I expect Ava Blazer to be a little bit better out of box 2 for Jeff Britton. But I think Zipping Daria has a chance to lead. And I think if she can lead, I think she can win. She did run second to Your Hero Bale last week and chased hard. So she has the strength. Your Hero Bale for mine is the danger. I just don't know if she's going to be able to get that clear running through the first turn to challenge into the back straight. But clearly the time she posted last week was 0.3, 0.4 faster than anything else went. So she's the big danger with clear running. I just don't know where she'll be. And I think Zipping Daria will be in front of her. So that's why I'm leaning towards her. And then I do think Ava Blazer will improve from box 2. And as I said, I think with Zipping Daria wanting to get off a little bit, I think Ava Blazer, the run will be there for her. That was my take on it. Yatesy, what did you see?
Oh, look, I'm pretty similar, to be honest, just as far as the numbers go. Maybe the way it's run, I'm a little bit different, but I thought Miss Scallywag would lead. I mean, what we saw from the 7 the other night, just fired out, crossed down, was extraordinary, really. And the key is there's not heaps of pace directly underneath. So she's going to have that 4 and 5 box sort of space to be able to move and hunt across. I can see Zipping Daria will be booting through, but I thought Miss Scallywag would lead. I thought Your Hero Bale would actually get a lovely run through. So I could see it slotting 3rd or 4th, 1 off, maybe 3 off the lead, with Zipping Daria, Ava Blazer, those sort of greyhounds all sort of together, and it's sort of finishing hard. So I've got Miss Scallywag as the leader and possible winner, and I want to be on Your Hero Bale as a saver.
Yep.
And I do concede Zipping Daria and Ava Blazer, particularly Ava Blazer, just with the starting price profile of the run before. But I'd be happy to risk that pair in advance of backing the other two. So that's sort of the way I saw it. But similar numbers, yeah.
Did you think that in this race there was a potential blowout for something to cause a bit of a ball over?
Look, if Osprey Athena gets a run, it's my top pick. So that's the blowout for me.
Yep.
The other one maybe is Melissa Keeping. I mean, was it the Champion Puppy where we saw her over here?
Yes.
And look, maybe it's not at that top end, but if there's any scrimmaging and can get a bit of a run through in behind, then maybe. But it's $7.50, so it's not really a big over compared to what its probably winning chances are. So, have you got one?
No. I think, we got caught out with Fly for Tricks a month ago. I don't think it's a going to blow out race. I do think the ones who dominate the market will dominate the race. I think they're drawn and they've got the strength to perform at their best. So I couldn't see that. I'm with you though. I do think if the reserve gets a run, Osprey Athena, she was so impressive last week and unlucky not to qualify. So I think she's one to keep an eye on if she does get a run. Other than that, I do think the race should hopefully pan out as we've sort of looked at. The Derby Finals, race 8.
Yeah, I'll run through that for you, the box draw and the tab fix market. Russia's Raw, obviously, in box 1. We'll have a chat to Kim Johnstone, the trainer, soon. It's $3.80. Two Deadly Class at $2.60. It is the favourite. 3/4 is $26 on the tab fix. Number 4, Salad Dodger at $8.50. 5 Columbus Manelli at $16. 6 Hector Fawley is $4.20, and the third pick in the market, 7 Multi Mat at $8.50, and 8 Winnington Bale is at $15. Spring Honour and Woodside Brocky at 51 and 71 are the two reserves in order. What do you make of it, Matho?
Well, the SA Derby, the honour roll of this race shows that these dogs progress to be some stars of the track as they go on. And these dogs, which are all nice young dogs, I can see a lot of these being really, really wonderful dogs.
Well,
in the
not
next
only
6 to
that,
12
we
months.
also have had the progression of these greyhounds pretty quickly into the Adelaide Cup and either win or run well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like who have we had? Ernie Bungaro. There was like 3 of them that we had really close together.
Well, Ernie Bungaro and Spud Regis are probably the 2 that they won the Derby and then went on and won the Adelaide Cup in the same year, which is hard to do. But it goes to your point that these good young dogs, Taranza Bale was another one going back a while, but they go through the Derby series.
Was Wormburner one? Or
Wormburner didn't win the Derby.
Okay, might have been the St Ledger that sort of one and went through.
But I mean, it is a race of progression. So I would hope a lot of these dogs hang around for the Adelaide Cup because the performances they've been putting in will get you right in the finishing line of an Adelaide Cup heat, I think. And if you can qualify, who knows what happens in a Group 1. The race itself, Yatesy, I mean, we probably have slightly different views. I'm a bit more of a Hector Fawley fan, and I was probably taken a little bit more by his run. More about what he did, the adversity that he found last week in the heat. I think he did show last week in the heat that he was able to push forward and he found some trouble on the first turn with Woodside Brocky and then a couple other checks. I just think he might get a clearer run to the first turn, particularly if Deadly Class and Rush's Raw sort of just jostle a little bit for position early. I think that opportunity will come for Hector Fawley. I was quite taken by him. He has run time at Sandown. He was brilliant at Angle Park. 2 runs ago, 30-36 against lesser opposition. He's a real progressive type. I've got him on top. I think he can position handy early, be really hard to beat. Rush's Raw for Kim Johnstone. She is flying the flag for SA as the only SA dog in the race, so we wish her well. I think he can run really well. And then I put Deadly Class, again, for Anthony as a party. He's drawn with clear running early. He's going to be really hard to hold out. So they're my top 3. How did you see the race?
I like Deadly Class. I'm happy to overlook last run. I'm happy to overlook most form from last week and just, take it with a pinch of salt because that track and the way it was bumping and racing, it was just unusual. So, look, his run the week before was huge. He came out of boxes, wanted to go hard left in the heats last week. That's a concern for me in this race. But I just think at the price, comparative to what we've seen, and I know we've spoken about this before, but beaten favourites, they get forgotten about pretty quick because punters are unforgiving. And I think this is an example again. So particularly beaten favourite, short price, 2 runs in a row. They just want to get off because they're like done their money. Now, all of a sudden, he's out to 260, drawn exactly where he wants to be, in my view. I think Rush's Raw might just, when he drew 1 a few ago, he bounced a length in front. So if that happens again, which could happen, Deadly Class slots to the fence, chases out after Rush's Raw, and I think finishes a bit too well. Rush's Raw in front, I think, is going to give a bold side. I thought Quarter was a roughie. I really liked its closing speed last run. And if you take a look at just the market and the way Salad Dodger, look, it's hard for me to forgive last run, but at $8.50, when we know what it can do at its best, it's probably one that I need to have in. But look, I've got Deadly Class on top, and I'm going to make it a best bet on the night. So that's the sort of way I'm looking at it for the feature final.
No, I mean, again, I think these dogs are going to progress quite well. If there is a blowout for mine, I did like Columbus Manelli, I think, for Morgan Turner. I think if this dog can find his way close to the rails, he can rocket home over the last little bit with a touch of luck. And again, he's at around $10. So, good luck to all the connections on the night. Now, Yatesy, before we get our best bets on the night, we obviously have some wonderful dogs competing throughout the program, obviously leading up towards the Adelaide Cup. We've got Stout Manelli back in Adelaide, which is great. and the likes of Plan Ahead and Just a Sort from Queensland, Tony Brett, is competing as well. But we'll have 2 trials on the night. We'll have Equaliser, Jason Thompson's wonderful sprinter, Group 1 winner, won $500,000 in stake money. He'll be trialling. He's a great one-on-one match race dog, so we're good to see what time he goes. And we'll also have Wow, She's Fast, the boom greyhound in Australia for Kel Greeno. She will be trialling as well. She's won over $1 million. She's won the Phoenix. She's on everyone's lips. So she'll be here in Adelaide on Thursday night trialling with Equaliser. They're all leading up towards the match race series next week and obviously heading towards the Adelaide Cup.
Well, it sounds like we're going to have a strong series for the Cup.
Well, I think so. I mean, with the $1 million chase moving 2 weeks earlier to coincide with the Rugby League finals and getting off our Group 1, which we're very thankful for, it does free up, the dogs who haven't qualified for the semi-finals of the $1 million chase to come to Adelaide for the Group 1. Why not come? Give yourself a chance at qualifying for the final. So I do think it'll be very strong.
What about this anniversary cup at Mount Gambier on Sunday afternoon? Can you run through the field there for us?
Well, the fields haven't been released yet, but the 2 heat winners were Victor Grosso, which is the track record holder at Mount Gambier now, who did that 2 weeks ago. He won his heat in impressive fashion. And Departure Gate for Jason Newman, who's the Mount Gambier Cup winner from last year, or earlier this year, sorry. Yeah. He also won his heat. It's going to be a terrific 8-dog final. I mean, high-quality Metro standard. So those fields will be out later today.
Terrific. Best bets for Angle Park on Thursday night. Who have you got?
Okay, well, so we're going with race 1, number 1, Springvale Roxy for Mike Giniotis. First look at the 595. She's drawn perfectly in box 1. She ran 30.50 over 530 metres last start and was strong at the line running away. So I think the step up to 595 will suit her down to the ground. Race 1, number 1. Get your money early. I would also throw in if she gets in, get on race 4, number 5, Osprey Athena. We've spoken about her. This is a huge drop in class. She only has to perform somewhere near the level she was in the heats of the Oaks last week to win if she's not in the Oaks final.
Yeah, look, I'm with you with Osprey Athena. I think her run last week was extraordinary. I'm with Deadly Class in the Derby. I'm going to make it a good bet. And the other one I like to be a bit of odds as well is race 7, number 3, Toby West, looking to make it 5 wins straight. Yep. Adam Manton really has it flying along. That's a look at Thursday night's action. Coming up next, Kim Johnstone, the trainer of Rush's Raw in the Derby final.
The interview.
Oh, big night on Thursday night. We've got the final of the SA Derby, Group 3 final. And a lady with a ripping chance is Kim Johnstone, the trainer of Rush's Raw, box 1 in the final. Kim, thanks for joining us on the Dogcast.
Thanks for having me.
How are you feeling? Rush's Raw, box 1 in a big final. How does it feel?
I mean, box 1 is always a good thing, but, we're cautiously hopeful more than anything, I think, is our position.
Well, Kim, tell us a little bit about Rush's Raw, because he's progressed quite nicely. And so Clint Alloway's the owner. He had, about 10 starts in Victoria, and you got him, and he won first up for you in a juvenile over the 342. And he's been progressing quite nicely. Did you think when you got him, and how did you get him? And did you think he'd be able to progress so quickly to make a feature final like this?
When Clinton bought him early days, I think he'd only had 1 start or something, and he'd actually chatted about him to me a few times, and he wanted to send a dog called For the Thrill over, who was a bit older and had a few issues to deal with. So the sweetener was, I'll send you For the Thrill and you can have Rush's Raw. That was sort of how it worked. So that was sort of how that worked. And he came over and literally he just took like a duck to water to Angle Park. He trialled good. His first race was good. And then he flew his second start. He went like 19, 20 odd. And then we ventured up to Murray Bridge to try and give him a stepping stone towards stepping him up in distance as he was sort of untried. He didn't seem to love it as much up there. He trialled really good, but then we came back to Angle Park and he just hasn't missed a beat. He's just been an absolute little marvel. Very proud of him.
And as you mentioned, I mean, he does love the Angle Park circuit and obviously the 530. And I mean, he's gone 30-17 over the 5:30, which, if he can replicate any of that sort of form, he'll be extremely hard to beat. What do you make of box one in the final? And obviously, we've spoken a little bit about Deadly Class on your outside, who's one of the race favourites. How do you see, and where would you like to? Obviously, you'd like to be in front, but how do you see the race panning out?
I'm just hoping that he's on his absolute best box manners and jumps to the front. Hopefully, maybe a little bit of scrimmaging behind, but I think he just needs to do everything right because they're very, very good dogs in the race. He's got the ability. He just, it's a dog race, so anything can happen. I want him to go his 5:19. He can go to the split, and hopefully that's enough to hold the lead and miss Deadly Class heading to the rail. But I think Deadly Class is a lot better dog than he's shown here. His form in Victoria is super. So if he replicates that, he will be very hard to beat. But also Rush's Raw, Little River, he's very strong too. So if we're on the bunny, we're going to take a power of running down. But just getting on the bunny, just pray at the start.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you, Kim. The Deadly Class, that sort of bumped heavily from box 2 the other night with the inside dog. But last time you drew one, it's like you touched on his box matters, just shanghaied out. He actually was like a length in front, sort of right as the lid's open. It was extraordinary to see. And I guess that's what you're talking about this week. That's the sort of beginning you want to see.
Absolutely. In any final, or any race really, being in front is 95% of the race. So I've kept him fresh. I'm trying to just, keep him happy and fresh, and hopefully he pings the boxes. He's quite a shy little dog, so I just hope he doesn't get a bit overwhelmed. But it's not an Adelaide Cup, so there won't be a huge crowd. So I've just got my fingers crossed that he just, steps cleanly, basically.
Well, and you mentioned the Adelaide Cup, Kim. So all things being well, when he progresses or performs at his best for you on Thursday night, is that where you're sort of heading with him and giving him a crack at the Group 1?
I believe so. That's the plan, but I'm the type of trainer that just takes 1 week at a time because a week's a long time in dog racing. So I'll just get through this Thursday and then we'll think about it. And hopefully if he gets through cleanly and pulls up well, we might enter for the match races. Whether he's good enough to get in the top 4 in South Australia, fingers crossed. But we'll just, as I said, a week is a long time in greyhound racing, so I just take 1 week at a time with every dog.
And Kim, a big Group 3 final. I mean, it's been quite an extraordinary life for you in greyhound racing. It's sort of been in your blood, I guess, since you're a young girl. Yeah,
I was born and bred into the greyhounds with my grandfather being a chairman of the Adelaide Greyhound Racing Club early days, and then Dad's trained, and I've taken over the reins a little bit, and just sort of, it is what it is. I've never known life without a greyhound, so that's just life at the moment, isn't it? So.
Yeah, and then Dad won the Derby. Was it tribute to Dad?
Tribute to Dad, yes.
Yeah.
I handled him. It was like my first race handle. It was like, I'd only been handling 12 months. It was very, very exciting. I still remember it, clean as day.
Well, look, it's a terrific final. You've got one heck of a chance. The market has you second favourite. We really appreciate your time this morning, Kim, and all the best of luck for that big final on Thursday night.
Thanks for having me. Cross everything.
There she is, Kim Johnstone, the trainer of Rush's Raw, who's going to be mighty hard to beat in the Derby on Thursday night. Well, Matho, that pretty much takes us out. Big edition of the Dogcast. Plenty going on.
Massive, plenty to talk about, and great show. Looking forward to the weeks and months ahead.
Well, good luck to all connections in the Oaks and the Derby. We hope to see you at the track soon.